Um, okay. How are you? Good. All's good.
Good. Yeah, we are good. We are hours away from the Open being over, so feeling good, feeling great.
How's it going so far? Obviously, it's different this year because there's a team dynamic happening, and there's a woman defying odds as well. On top, well, that's well, Tia's always defying odds, but now she's doing it with a partner. She's doing all partner workouts. She's so lazy.
She's cheating,
Doing all
actually.
doing all partner workouts.
Big cheater in the Open this year for her, getting extra
Yeah,
strength there.
she's on.
It's good, man.
She's essentially on hormone treatment as well.
That's what they say,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna comment on that one way or the other, but you can draw your own conclusions.
It's probably the only way you can be on hormones while also being natty. It's probably otherwise it's just impossible.
She's probably still getting drug tested weekly though. So.
It's like that baby's gonna come out and be like, "Man, I'm wrecked."
I need a rest day.
I just qualified for quarterfinals. Yeah,
I think she's due the first week of May, so it's like let's jump into semis right then.
Yeah. Probably that baby ready to just strut out on the floor and still beat half the field. Yeah. What's it been like though? Is it more stressful? Obviously, like there's a lot. We saw last year with Annika and a few others how easily things can go wrong just by maybe being too relaxed or forgetting about something small. So I'm assuming you guys have like a lot of systems in place and stuff for, considering you have like professional athletes there basically that are doing the Open as a bit of a layup, a bit of a gimme, I guess, but they still can't. Like, I mean, if you mess it up, you're screwed. Like your season is over, basically, if you mess up one of the workouts. Is it always a stressful time of year? Is it more stressful this year having the team there? Has it changed anything that kind of way?
This is probably the most stressful Open that we've had, to be honest with you, because we've increased the number of people doing it, but kept the coaches the same, and then added in the element of the team. This is all that matters for the team. They have to do the Open together, right? So like we have this app that you have to show that shows where you are location-wise and the exact time. So it proves to them that the team is doing it where they say they are. So if anything comes up, like somebody turns them in for not being together, all you have to do is submit the video that they did the Open in East Nashville during that time. So, and we've even, like you said, like it should be a very easygoing, like non-stressful time of the year with the Open, but there's always the stupid element of technology. Like even in our camp, like we had a clock go out in one of the workouts last week. It was 6 minutes into the workout for them with the shuttle runs, and we just had to start over. So it's even stupid things like that where you don't even think about it. But it's good to get the kinks out with all these people here at once before quarterfinals when it matters, because right now, like even if somebody has to do a redo on one of these Open workouts, it's not going to, one, ruin their training, and two, it's not going to ruin anything results-wise. So at the end of the day, it's less stressful, but logistically, it's been kind of a nightmare, which we got to figure out.
Were you surprised with the pushback or the reaction to the speaking of technology, your snafu this week with the video submission? Were you surprised with the kind of reaction to that online?
I'm trying to remember, like I was telling somebody earlier today, since I've started my new role here, like I've been trying to find one day a week where I can just kind of like lay off coaching, lay off fitness, like just get some work done and chill. And that was Monday. And until 2 p.m., I was like, man, this is great. I've got one day a week now where I can just kind of lay back, enjoy what I'm doing and take some time for myself. And so Taylor comes running into the gym at like 2:30. He's like, hey, you got to handle this. So that threw that out the window because it was crazy, man. Like we didn't know what happened. Sasha didn't know what happened because of everything. So it was like, it took us 2 hours just to get to the bottom of what the issue was because we had no clue at all. So obviously the longer that's going without an explanation, the more people start getting bad sentiments about the whole thing, which coming forward, when we all look at it for the very first time in visceral reaction, it doesn't look good. Everybody thinks there's something wrong there because there was, but it was good that even though they were in Argentina, because we're in different countries at this point, the communication was great with them and we were able to jump on top of it as quickly as we could.
I thought it was interesting. Hiller put out a video, like a second video, about it, and the first like 2 minutes or so of the video was like, what word did he use? Oh, I can't remember. Basically, like taking ownership of the. He had a counter for how many times you said like, "Yeah, we made a mistake," or "It's our problem and we fix it," or "We need to get better," blah blah. So I think like, that speaks volumes. It was funny to see it, but it was totally unsurprising knowing you and having spoken to you a few times that it was like, yes, like we are talking about it out loud in front of everyone because we don't want anyone to fill in the blanks, basically.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing is like, I think this is the first time in CrossFit Games history that something wasn't what it looked like. You know what I mean? Like we've had these issues before where you're like, oh, they did a lot of video editing on that. Like, good try, but that's definitely cheating. Like we just like had never come across anything where it was so misconstrued by people and what they saw visually, which is fair because if you can only see one clip of a video, your brain's going to go where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of on us to get in front of it in a lot of ways and tell everybody that as a brand and as coaches, we stand behind her 100% on this. And this is exactly the facts that were out there. And, like at the end of the day, hats off to Andrew Hiller, because we even talked before that video came out. We explained the situation. He listened, and it was a classy move by him to kind of come back out and explain the situation to his followers. Hopefully he got some good feedback from them on that. We at least knew it was a good situation. And at the end of the day, we can at least help people that this is an issue in the future. Hopefully it's not, and they can figure it out and have a camera ready for them. And hopefully no one will have to make that mistake again, like we were talking about when it matters in quarterfinals or anything like that.
Do you remember the guy that did double unders with no rope? That will go down in history as the best, worst thing that anyone's ever done.
And my favorite thing about those is like the thought behind it to make like the pain face of like how hard it is that the movement is happening.
Yeah. Even could you not just do like one double under and just loop the video like over and over again?
Well, that was the other guy, right?
Yeah.
That was Bachmeyer who did the loop. And that was, we've talked to video people, like he put a lot of effort in that. Like that was a big production to be able to not move out of frame and do the exact same thing. Even for us at the end of the day, we see an edited video like that. We're like, oh man. So we sat there for like 30, 40 minutes just trying to figure out what the heck was going on with that thing and how we could like figure out why it happened.
Yeah, but kudos for coming out and talking about it, and for talking to Hiller as well, because I think a lot of people have this like, in my opinion, an incorrect view of him, thinking like he's just like a fly around shit like that. He's just buzzing all the time, but like you can see the endeavors that he makes, that he is trying to improve things and make it better. So it's good that he's being accepted for what he's doing, I guess.
Absolutely. And
23.3 is out. And we're about 24 hours. We're actually exactly 24 hours after.
24 hours, yep.
Yeah, Mal was probably finished at this point.
11 minutes in, absolutely.
Yeah, she was in the ice bath out the back at this point. It's maybe I'm like following people who are very like-minded to me, but I actually haven't seen one person complain or badmouth this workout since it came out, whereas both of the others, there was issues with both of them. People were unhappy with both of them. This is probably the first one this year where it has a minimal, say, footprint in an affiliate, so that people are going to be happy with that. It's accessible, it's approachable. There's a sense of achievement if you can make it to certain points. Like even if you can't, you've only got 6 minutes of like potential embarrassment, and then it's over. Is this like a brilliantly programmed workout in your mind? Like, have you got any issues with it?
No, and that's like the only issue so far in week 1 and week 2 is floor plan, I think, right? And everybody's talked about it just because it makes it really hard for affiliates. Like I think if we see 23.1 and 23.2 in quarterfinals, no one has a single issue with it, right? Because we can we can spread out, we can do our videos, whatever we need to do. It's just tough on affiliates that are running hundreds of people through them. But this workout, like, setup wise, camera wise, everything was right where it needed to be. You didn't need to worry about too many lines going anywhere else. And from a fitness standpoint, because I do think the last 2 workouts were great fitness tests as well. And then on this one, this is great, especially for people that maybe all season have been working on something like a handstand push-up, and that's a weakness for a lot of people. This is a good test to see your capacity under fatigue. So we just got done with it. I came straight here from that. So we watched everybody do it this morning, and there's really no pushback on how it's programmed. I think what you'll probably see come next Monday, whatever it is, you'll see those like scientific reports come out that tall people are going to struggle more than short people, maybe with the new standard. But after watching it in real time this morning, we didn't see much of that at all. There was a couple people that may have longer limbs than their proportion to their body to where they did struggle a little. But at the end of the day, they're going to struggle on strict handstand push-ups no matter what the standard is. And I thought this was it was a good test for sure overall.
And look who's at the top. Look at
Interesting.
that. What an absolutely perfect hairline he has. Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah, he's got to keep that high and tight like that every day. Like he's looking like a model right there.
It's like it's painted on. Remarkable. It's like a tidal wave. Okay, we'll go through the workout. So I guess for say the different levels of people that are approaching it. So I get walks where it's you step behind the tape and in front of the tape rather than going all the first tape on the floor rather than going all the way into the wall, like nose to the wall kind of. So I guess for people that are doing say the scale, the foundation, that kind of thing, or maybe their first time doing the open, is it a case of similar to the elites? I guess you sprint as hard as you can to get through that first 6 minutes. Like you can't, there's nowhere here for you. If you reckon you have a chance of finishing it, there's nowhere for you to be like, I'm just going to take a few seconds here and relax and, like breathe through it. Like, do you kind of have to keep moving consistently?
Yeah, consistently is the word. I don't think you should sprint any of this. Like, so let's talk about the way we call it in Proven is like level 3 is your games athlete. Level 2 would be like your wannabe semifinals. Level 1 would be the athlete that wants to get through part 1. So like level 1, it's going to come down to what you're better at, right? So if you're somebody that struggles with shoulder fatigue, going slow on the wall walks is what we would suggest, right? Going faster on everything else, because the minute that fatigue gets into those shoulders, it's making everybody question their whole strategy. So if you can push that off as long as possible, that's what we want to look at there, especially for the elites too, because unless you're someone like Mal, you're somebody that's the best in the world on their hands and you have a short range of motion and you can go through the barbell fast, you don't need to sprint the wall walks because that's just going to get your heart rate up to a spot to where you want that to kick in probably in the middle going into the very last set. Because if you're somebody that can really hammer that barbell in the 225, 155, you want your most intense set being in that 20, 50, and then those 6 at the end.
And would the general advice for your level 1 people, are you saying those first 15 snatches, like maybe 3 sets, 5, or are you saying singles all the way through?
So I think both, right? So if they're like really good for whatever reason at the wall walks, but they just have a very low 1 rep max on the snatches, singles all the way. If you're somebody that struggles on the wall walks but's very strong, we stick to like 3 sets on the barbell and then just go slower on the wall walks.
Yeah, I am firmly in that second category. I get that weird, like my face goes bizarrely like blotchy red for like 4 days. It gets like bruised from being upside down. Which probably shows you, oh fuck no, I'm not breathing, I'm doing wall walks. which probably shows you A, that I like, yes, I'm not breathing, and B, how slowly I must be moving in and out in order for the blood to pool so much in my head that it bruises me internally. But yeah, I think that's great. That's my advice. Don't slam your head into the ground. It was actually funny last night watching the live announcement where I can't remember the name of the girl. She coaches in Stacey's gym, the girl that was on the left. But they were like, oh, she's got this great technique of just slamming into the ground rather than lowering herself down. And I was like, right, not doing that. Like that's not going to happen for me.
That's like the one thing about strict handstand push-ups at the elite level. Like it's not safe. Like don't watch games athletes do things like that because we want to take away the negative as long as possible out of strict handstand push-ups. And all that really means is just slam your spine as hard as you can into the mat and get a mat that will allow you to do that.
But even like, the wall walks of just like, they're like at like this angle, it's just like onto the ground. It's like whatever chance I had of breathing before being winded, it's now gone. I wanted to talk, we'll move on to the kind of elites in a minute, your higher levels. I just want to talk about the standards because there's a couple of things. I know last year there was a big issue about when you're starting off, both hands must touch, and you cannot move your first hand until your second foot touches the wall, which like is so hard to judge because you're looking at two things at once. But on the video, it's so obvious on the video, but it's so hard to see in real time. Is it a case of that and say the handstand push-ups, the fingers on the tape and stuff, like just encouraging people, I guess, to leave no doubt, not make, you're welcome, and not make it difficult for their judge, like make it as easy as possible so that you don't have this thing of like, I need to do that rep again, or no, that's a no rep. Like you saw the guys, the kind of coaches a few times kicked up and had to come back down and then kick back up. Like that's all wasted time, and time under tension, which isn't going to get you anything, especially if you complete the rep. So on that, fingers on the line and feet moving before your hands move, etc. And then on the handstand push-ups of having, I guess there's two things on the handstand push-ups: make sure your hands are in the right place, but also a very common mistake I see, and I've already seen it on Instagram today, is a crowd cheering for a rep when you're looking at it thinking those feet weren't on the wall at the end of that rep. Just like, you know, the person got up and kicked down, and like, is it just a case of like, you've done the hard work, just don't fuck it up now by messing up something so simple, leave no doubt? Yeah,
I think when this came up the first year, I believe Brooke and Tia got penalties because they did them next to each other, so they're racing and their hands were moving. It was the very first time we had the wall walk. And at that time, like even to our eyes as coaches, because it was the first time, it was almost impossible to see because we were trying to take everything in all at once. But today, because we do them so much now, and I think we're a few years later, it was very easy to see. Like you could see everyone was following it perfectly. Like hands were there, feet were on the wall, and then hands moved. And I think using that 2-inch thick white tape that they're allowing makes it super easy because it gives you a lot of room to play with. And if you, like today, we had a white tape on a black floor or a black mat, it makes it completely easy. So set yourself up for success. Like don't use a similar color to what's underneath. Like even if it's a blue and a black, try to keep them as contrast as possible. I think the one thing people may get hung up on that you don't think about is there's still a standard for your feet at the top, right? So it still has to be within the shoulder width like it always is for the game standard on handstand push-ups. Because I think with the new standard, it's going to make people be a lot more upright and stacked to where their feet start wanting to do this at the top because you can't get away with that hyperextension anymore. And so there's only really one place for that energy to leak out, and that's with your legs going wider. So judges have to be on top of that one because that can be called a no rep.
What are you saying is a no rep? Sorry.
So like if your feet get wider than remember when we had that issue before where feet shoulder were going wider than the shoulders? Yep. Because that's just something that looking at all these movements of the standard, it's not what you think about first. You think about the tape and having your hands on it. But that's something that people may overlook that you need to think about. Yeah.
And I think as well, the like falling away from the wall, you know, like on that last struggle bus rep where you're like almost up, and then you just kick down and it's like, oh, we'll give it to you. It's like, don't give it to them because that's going to affect someone somewhere. One of the other things just I wanted to show people, this is nothing to do with proven now, I'm afraid, but let me see if I can find it. Just someone that I think people should have a look at for doing this workout is Harriet Roberts, who she's she's a great athlete, lives in Australia, I think, but she's big into like gymnastics. Like she's really good at gymnastics, but she has a whole like warm up. Like, I mean, to my mind, I'm looking at this thinking I'm finished. When I'm finished this warm up, I'm like, all right, I'm heading home, guys. See you later. But she has a really extensive like warm up on it. So if anyone wants Harriet Roberts, anyway, the elites then. If you're aiming for, say, you're level 2, level 3, you're heading for quarterfinals. Some of those people quarterfinals is going to be a gimme. Some of those people quarterfinals is like, holy shit, I made it. And then what's going to happen beyond this? Not shitting the bed too early, like not gassing yourself so much. Like, is it? Have you found that your athletes are maybe surprised at how much of a window they have left in that 6 minutes, that maybe they could afford to slow down a little bit there and gain some time later on?
Yeah, the number one thing we took away from this morning, even watching the affiliate was going on behind us, so we watched some of those just to get some details. Number one thing was, if you go out too hot, you can't get it back. So it's like, once you are staring at that wall because one, you went too fast on the wall walks, or you went too big a sets on the barbell, shoulder fatigue's not coming back at that point. That's one of those things we may blow away. I don't know.
So there's a hurricane passing through Nashville. Just for people that are watching, when I heard that bang, I was like, that's his car.
Let's just, to make it clear, it's a tornado. Just for our viewers out there, so we think we're educated. Hurricanes are.
Well, you see, I'm not from America, so hurricane, tornado, and twister are all the same thing. They're all movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Which one? Yeah, which one had Pierce Brosnan? No, that was Volcano, wasn't it? That's different. I know there's lava.
Yeah, we don't have any of those.
Yeah. So,
anyways, So shoulder fatigue.
Don't peak too soon, basically.
Yeah, if you can keep your shoulder fatigue at bay as long as possible, and that means whatever for anyone that's doing this. If we're talking about a games athlete, you should be able to pick up the pace at its fastest going into that last set of 20 strict handstand push-ups. I think if you have the capacity to have one of the best scores in the world, that's exactly where you have to kick it in. And that means that you pace the rest of it correctly. Because I don't think sprinting these wall walks at a pace that's going to get your heart rate up is going to pay off for anyone.
Yeah, I feel like it's not even... it's kind of like the shuttle runs and the burpees. I remember when John from the program was on, he was like, if you're on a shuttle run, sprint, because it's worth more than a burpee. Like, one rep of a shuttle run will take you longer than one rep of a burpee, so it's worth more, so go faster. So it's kind of like you'll get more strict handstand push-ups in the same time window that you sprint wall walks, as in, like, everyone's going to get through that anyway, but not everyone will be able to pound out 20 handstand push-ups no problem and move on to the bar and grab it hands on. So I guess and
I would say for the 90% of people, obviously if we're talking about that 10% that make quarterfinals, breaking up your handstand push-ups and barbell sooner than you think you need to will pay off more than you know.
That seems to be like the kind of common theme of the Open this year, is like stop before you're forced to stop, basically.
Which I think that means it's a good test of fitness, right? Because fitness comes down to personal pacing for the most part. So you can't just watch Mal do it and think, oh, I'll just go a couple seconds slower than her and I'll be good, right? You've got to be able to look at every single movement, every time domain, and figure out where you can go slower.
So you're saying I shouldn't base my tactics against what Mal did?
I think you should. I just want to see that. So you should definitely try to beat them.
Yeah. I'll be walking around with one of those neck braces.
You just put some shoulder pads too on for you to just fall on the floor.
I'm doing my handstand push-ups on like some kind of king size mattress or something, so that sprung based mattress. Are you looking at like you guys as coaches when you're having your little coaches meetings? That sounded really patronizing. When you're having your really important coaches meetings in your boardroom, I mean, it sounded like you're having a tea party.
Hobby that you do on the weekend.
Yeah, that was like totally unintentional. It was so patronizing. When you're having your coaches meetings and you're like, are you guys at the stage now where you maybe write up the open workouts on the whiteboard, like side by side, and think, okay, what does this tell us about quarterfinals, semifinals, games? Or is it kind of too early in the season to start? Like, are you still focused on maybe what came up at the games last year and trying to extrapolate from that?
Yeah, and that's why we had talked about every Thursday we meet like in a broad, we'll call it a staff meeting, so it sounds more official. And just yesterday and the week before, we kind of knew what movements were coming this week so we can program around them. Obviously, the Open doesn't mean much for our athletes, but we still want them to put up a good performance and test themselves in these 3 weeks. So it's good to see that he's followed, and now with Boz, like, we may not see this combination come up in the quarters, so we know how to program for that moving forward. But we do get a broad sense of how he's going to test fitness, right? Though it's going to be more of the tests we see at the games or semis where it's overall fitness rather than picking out certain movements here and there and just testing singular parts of fitness. So that's good for us, right? Because we train in a way that we want to be ready for anything. And we're left with the movements that are on that equipment list that we know may be coming as well.
Are you expecting Tola to win this?
It's hard to say because I think we go back to the height thing, and it's not like we don't know with the new standard, because it's just going to be giving him the opportunity to redo this and make sure that he can put his best score out there. So he went this morning, great run through. Like, we got a lot of good data out of it. And it's a great workout for him on paper. Like, no matter what, we know he has a capacity to be a top scorer in the world on this, which is exactly where he wanted to put him going into week 3. Thankfully for that thruster last week, he got a good score with that one, which put him right where he needed to be. But we will go ahead and do this again no matter what, just to make sure little things here and there that he can clean up to get maybe 5 seconds off. Even 5 seconds at this point, when you're talking about top 5 in the world, it's huge when it comes to trying to beat somebody else.
It's funny because, like, we were talking, we talked about it in Miami, and we talked about it when you were on with Tim the other week, of like the changes in him as an athlete, and like no workout could display that better than last week's open workout of burpees and running combined with a heavy thruster. Because previously it would have been like, whoa, did you see Tola? He would have been like Wall Street weightlifter, where it's like, did you see his thruster? Yeah, but did you see part A? You know, like, whereas now it's like he's like winning the open after a workout like that is
it's not 2015 anymore, Tola, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because it was funny. So he did the workout last week. Fine, great. Like, this was before he thought he even had a chance to be top 5 in the world, right? So he's like, week 1, it's been funny to see each week. Week 1, he got his score up on Friday morning. Like, throw it up there, it doesn't matter. Then week 2, he does it. We get back in the gym on Saturday morning. He comes up to us and he goes, this may sound weird, but I might be in first in the world this week after these performances. So I think I'm going to redo the workout. And like, without doing the math much, we're like, okay, man. Yeah. And then we actually did the math. We're like, oh, this is true. So we broke that down to exactly how many reps he would need in part 1 just to be close enough to be in that conversation. And we redid it Sunday, and he did exactly what he needed to do, and then hit more on the thruster too. So like, the guy takes coaching better than anybody, and just the exact same as a lot of our athletes in our camp, which is why they're here. And if we can present him with an opportunity like that to be even top 5 in the world in the open, it's a huge accomplishment for him. And hopefully we can redo this on Sunday and get an even better result.
Were you expecting the team to be first? Like, was that like when you open the app and see the team there, are you like, yeah, okay? Or are you like, fuck, this is cool? Like, we're exactly where we expect to be.
Well, it's one of those things. It doesn't mean much, right? Because we've got individuals on there too. It's just like the proven brand is in first, just like with Mayhem, and everybody at the top is going to put all their athletes on there because why not? That's what the rules are. So quarterfinals will mean a lot more. Like when we open up that leaderboard, and if we are at the very top, that'll be a cool moment because it means we're in, at least from a baseline level before we start games training, we're exactly where we want to be. But yeah, obviously, like to see the brand name itself from a personal level, Shane and I, it's cool to see it up there because this is the first time we've been able to have the proven name on the leaderboard.
Yeah, it is cool. It's funny because like on the app, you can't like drop down. You know the way like at the games, you can drop down and see the profile and who's on the team and stuff and where they came in the workouts.
You can.
Oh,
so you got to go through a few things. But if you go to the leaderboard, click on view profile, go all the way to the bottom, it shows who's on it.
Oh, is that on the website?
Yeah, you can't do it on mobile. It's only on desktop.
No, yeah, I'm like, you know, I'm only 34. I'm always on the app. I'm like, desktop? What's desktop? But like, you can't.
The old that's for the masters athletes.
Yeah, boomers. But I was like, I was sitting on it one day, and my wife was like, "Who's that? Like training culture? Who's that?" And I was like, you know, I bet that it's like they probably do have a good team, but I was like, I bet it's a scenario of every training culture athlete is on it, and like
Yeah,
so I messaged them and I was like, is Fabi on that, like who's on that team? And they were like, oh yeah, it's nonsense. They were like, there's definitely people on there that are not going team. And I'm like, all right, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
But it's cool, right? Like at the end of the day, you get your gym name out there. You can say that you're first in the world on the team side, take a picture of it. It's cool because they did crush that first week. Like even though it is 4 individuals, they still put up great scores against our individuals.
Yeah.
It was cool for us though that like 3 of the team athletes out of the 4 on the team were in week 1 that scored, and then in week 2 we had 3 out of the 4 as well. So like at least it's good to see that they're hanging with our individuals, which puts us in a good spot.
What's it been like balancing Andrea and Tim kind of coming and going and stuff? Is that like as smooth as you hoped it would be?
Yeah, they're all such veterans, like we talked about on the podcast before, that it's just kind of seamless to where we plug them in. The only annoying part right now is that we have to fit in the open workouts while they're here. So that kind of takes up an hour or 2 of our time that we could be training with doing that, which is great. It's part of the season, what we do, but we'd rather be training until Madison than competing anyways, just because we only have a limited amount of time with them. But when we do get the team together, like Tim's improvements right now are off the charts. Like each time he's here, he's looking more and more like a games team athlete, which is cool because, I mean, we may have been a little worried the first weekend he was here.
It's easy to say that now when he's not here. Is for quarterfinals then, because the workouts come out Thursday, and it's different this year, isn't it? Where you actually have to do them in order. Like it's not like, oh, do it whenever, and it's specific order. So will the team be together for a longer period of time then? Are they going to spend like a week and a bit together rather than just like 3 days or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit over a week, and it's different from last year, right? Because you could just get them all done in one day realistically and then just move on to training, which was kind of nice, to be honest with you. But we may just at this point, like once the heavy lift's out of the way, just add lifting after the workout. Like once whatever skills out of the way, we'll add that into training that later in that day too. So, I mean, it's again, quarterfinals. Like if we can't make it out of quarterfinals and we have to worry about quarterfinals, we should just hang it up, right? Like that's how it should be and why this team was put together. So we do want to keep utilizing our time together as a team and not have to worry too much about wasting days of training.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. That's brilliant. I can hear one of my babies is crying, so I have to go. So you can hear that. Can you hear that?
Oh, I do hear that.
Yeah. So thanks very much. Appreciate you coming on. We'll chat in a few days, no doubt. Best luck to everyone finishing off the Open there. I'm going to go and try and sort out this.
Let us know how yours goes.
Yeah. Cheers. All the best. Cheers, Nick. Thanks very much. Really